There have been more than 200 cases of spontaneous human combustion reported around the world. These mysterious stories recount people bursting into flames with no apparent explanation as to why. First-hand accounts of these happenings date back to at least 1641. Thomas Bartholin, a Danish doctor and mathematician, wrote of such a case in a book describing the demise of an Italian knight named Polonius Vorstius. The young knight, in the company of his parents in Milan, burped fire and died after drinking 3 glasses of strong wine.
And the stories continue even today, of human beings becoming engulfed in flames. A recent case in 2015 in Germany found a woman in her 40s sitting quietly on a bus bench when suddenly she burst into flames. A passerby witnessed the event and was able to extinguish the fire by beating the flames with his jacket. Science often dismisses this strange phenomenon as a natural occurrence, and even cites it as being the result of excessive drinking near a fireplace or an open flame. But what about the cases where no reasonable explanation can be found? Thank you for joining us for today's installment of the Supernatural Tendencies podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Christie.
And this is episode 8, Spontaneous Human Combustion.
The year was 1938, and Miss Maybelle Andrews and her fiancé were throwing a party that included close family and friends. The crowd was shocked to see a mysterious flame burst from Miss Andrews as she stood at the top of her staircase. Another case in the same year found a woman on a boating excursion in Norfolk Broads reduced to char after she also mysteriously burst into flames.
One of the most famous cases of spontaneous human combustion happened to a 67-year-old Mary Resser in her home in July of 1951. The disturbing photos were front-page news and showed a pile of ash with the remains of what appeared to be Miss Resser's left foot. At the time, her death was explained away as being the result of a lit cigarette having ignited Mrs. Resser's clothes after she'd fallen asleep in her living room chair. But tests determined that the temperature of the fire would not have been hot enough to reduce her bones to mere ashes.
On November 6, 1964, Helen Conway spontaneously burst into flames and died while babysitting her grandchildren in her Pennsylvania home. When the fire department investigated the scene, they found only the lower half of Miss Conway's body remaining. Her legs, feet, and toes were completely covered in blisters. Another well-known case involves 92-year-old retired doctor John Irving Bentley. The now famous photos show his lower leg and slippered foot surrounded by a pile of ash next to his toilet in his Pennsylvania home. The disturbing photo has become a testament for believers and supporters of the spontaneous combustion theory.
With the stories continuing into the 1970s and 80s, it seems humans aren't the only ones that can fall victim to this mysterious phenomenon. In 1987, in Greater London, a cat named Peppy suddenly burst into flames in front of residents in the nursing home where the cat lived. While it's held in popular scientific belief that humans cannot simply erupt into flames for no reason, a few theories have arose to explain away these strange occurrences. The first is that since most of the cases involve the elderly, lit candles or careless cigarette smoking are often the first reason given as a potential source. Victims have also been accused of being alcoholics who got too close to an open source of fire, such as a fireplace or stove, thus resulting in their unfortunate demise.
However, neither of these explanations can dismiss a good many of the reported cases, such as in the case of Helen Conway, who neither drank nor smoked, as well as the story of poor Peppy the cat. who we are assuming also did not partake in cigarettes or booze. So what else could possibly explain the source of these human fires? The human body is composed mostly of water, which in turn makes it difficult to burn. Some scientists have proposed that due to the fact that we store fat in our bodies, this fat could act as a fuel source. A person's hair, or even their clothing, could possibly act as a wick, igniting a naturally occurring fire. This is known as the wick effect.
Paranormal investigator Larry Arnold of the Paris Science International Organization made an unsuccessful attempt at proving this theory, using a ham bone wrapped in clothing and lighting it on fire. A similar attempt, however, by the BBC show QED in 1998, using a dead pig wrapped in a blanket, burned for several hours and did not ignite its surroundings in the meantime, giving way to establishing the wick theory as the most probable cause of human spontaneous combustion.
But British author and biologist Brian Ford isn't so sure. He explains that a process called ketosis is most likely to blame. Acetone occurs naturally in the human body in small traces. However, due to alcoholism, and even in people who have ill health and disease, this flammable substance may become elevated, thus requiring only a spark from a nearby source, such as a cigarette, to set off the blaze. Ford conducted experiments using detailed scale models of humans, comprised of pig flesh, that he had soaked in acetone. The result was that of a bomb effect. To quote Ford, "In science, we tend to dismiss any new idea of which we have no personal understanding. A great many new theories have been ridiculed, when they later turned out to be correct."
A few cases have been reported where the victim miraculously did not perish from their experience, such as Frank Baker, a Vietnam veteran, who claimed that in 1985 he spontaneously caught fire while sitting on his couch watching TV. And while Ford's theory of acetone being the cause of these mysterious human fires, a case of December of 2010 made headline news for listing spontaneous human combustion as a 76-year-old man's cause of death.
In Galway, Ireland, Michael Faherty was found severely burned and lying on his back. Although Mr. Faherty's head was near an open fireplace, forensic investigators concluded that it was unrelated to his death. Dr. Ciaran McLaughlin, attending coroner on the case, ruled Mr. Faherty's sudden death as spontaneous human combustion in a landmark ruling, saying, quote, "This fits into the category of spontaneous human combustion, for which there is no adequate explanation."
So what are your thoughts on the cause of spontaneous human combustion? Do you buy the explanation of the wick theory or ketosis as being the culprits? Or do you think this one gets filed into the unexplained, at least for now? Be sure to leave us a voice message at the end of the show, or hop on over to our Facebook or Instagram page and leave us a comment with your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you think about these strange cases.
I don't know. Do you remember that song from the movie Jaws?
I was singing it the other day.
Show me the way to go home.
I'm tired and I want to go to bed.
I love that song.
Are we allowed to sing that song on here?
I don't know.
Well, we just did.
What's the song from Jaws? I don't know who to properly give credit.
Is it a folk song? Or did somebody record it?
Actually, wait, is that Lou Monte?
Really?
I think, yeah.
Huh.
I think.
I just know it from Jaws.
Yeah. But I think I actually looked it up one time, and it was...
We're going to have to look up the copyright rules on us singing a song.
Yeah.
Thank God it's not a Taylor Swift song.
It was not our song. We have no rights to this song. We just don't know who sings it. We're so sorry.
Yeah. We'll have to check on it.
Oopsie. Okay, so today's show... Spontaneous human combustion.
Oh, it's exciting.
I love to talk about spontaneous human combustion. You know that.
Can I say as a side note that you love everything that we do? I think 3 episodes in a row now. No, because the
I was
hodag,
going to
said
say,
I loved it.
I did, yeah.
But
yeah.
2 of them you've loved. Regardless, that's why we're doing this.
The teeth in the hodag just kept cracking me up. Like, I just couldn't.
And can I point out?
Look at the teeth.
Can I point out real quick too, as a second side note, that I did put the links up. Did you put those up?
No,
I gave them to you.
Said, oh yeah, I totally forgot.
Oh,
whatever.
Oh,
okay. So I will.
So
post
to the
those.
entirety of the listenership right now, I did links for every single show when she gave me a bunch of crap for not doing it.
What do you want? A cookie?
Yeah, I do.
Actually, I'm going to go in. I have to do that. I will probably get to that tomorrow. But so by the time this podcast airs, it will definitely be done.
All of them?
But yeah, I'm going to go into the descriptions.
Okay.
And post to all the podcasts.
Okay, because I gave you the entire list.
I'm going to do it.
So you guys heard it.
Leave me alone.
Go back 2 episodes to Hodag, I believe it was. Is it 3 episodes by now? Regardless, go back to it and check. She gave me a bunch of crap in the discussion.
We're about to have an assault.
Well,
regardless, get an assault charge today. That's what's going to happen.
The listeners now have the links to everything we were talking about, I believe. So yes, we love the spontaneous human combustion. And when you had originally brought up the idea of doing spontaneous human combustion, the only thing I can think of right offhand, and I kind of downplay it by saying the only thing I can think of, but it's a big part of my childhood was getting those, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording. They go to the library and you get the big books, the Big Book of the Unexplained, Volume 64.
Is that actually the name of it? The Big Book of the Unexplained. That would be a really cool name for. If I ever write a book, I'm going to title it The Big Book of the Unexplained.
The Unexplained for Dummies.
On Amazon.
Okay. I remember getting those as a kid and bringing them home, and they have like everything in there. Like they have a section on, of course, Bigfoot. They had Loch Ness Monster, and then have the little things like ball lightning, and then they would always have a spontaneous human combustion section.
Well, you have to. It's like a prerequisite for Unexplained.
And every single picture of those just scared me.
Well, yeah.
To just all get out.
And then you start worrying, like, if you're outside in the sun and you just get a little warm and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to spontaneously human combust.
There was a section of my life where I lived in total fear that I was just going to burst into flames.
I remember.
Yep, and then the Terminator was the second Terminator, where she was banging on the chain link fence where the bomb went off.
Oh yeah.
And then everybody like melted and burst into flames. That's what I thought I was going to do. It just right into flames. I'm just burning, and then I got yelled at for needing to be quiet while being on fire or something. Like that was my worst nightmare.
Did you have to spontaneously combust right here? Really? You wait until now to do it?
I just swept.
Now
you're getting your body ashes everywhere.
Go take a nap.
So, we just covered a few cases today in the narrative, but we wanted to go over just a couple other ones, and not they're not in depth or anything, but there are, like we said, over 200 reported cases.
Yes.
And it is a reoccurring thing, whether or not it gets. Do you call it diagnosis? Does it get diagnosed? What is that? Ruled upon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
By the coroner or whatever.
Yeah.
This is blah blah. Right.
Yeah.
It's diagnosed. Screw it. It's diagnosed as spontaneous. So I'm sorry, sir. You have been diagnosed with spontaneous human combustion.
Oh God, no.
Yeah. So right here I have a couple here. Again, in 1986, 58-year-old George Mott, who was a firefighter. Yeah. Ironically enough, he was a firefighter.
Another firefighter.
At Crown Point, New York. All that was left of him was a leg, a shrunken skull, and a piece of his rib cage. We move on to February, I believe, that same year. 65-year-old Danny Van Zant. And he was in Sequoia County, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, where the wind goes. Oh.
But this one was suspected of being in, because the medical examiner said that he had possibly died of a heart attack before the cigarette that he was smoking ignited his clothing.
Could have possibly ignited him.
So that one being kind of on the fence.
But when you say human spontaneous, combustion, I don't know about you, but like the first thing that comes to my mind is the whole Mary. I don't know if it's Reeser or Resser. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but it's those Mary Resser photos.
Yeah.
So when you think of it, like that's the first thing, and also the case of the man in Ireland.
Yeah, the Galway.
Yeah. So you think of those two photos. We've heard about those, but you haven't heard of, for example, poor Peppy the cat.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever heard of a cat spontaneously combusting?
Nope. Let alone Peppy.
Poor Peppy. Mm-hmm. That's awful. Like, what? Can you imagine?
Yeah. Just a puffball of fire.
Like I picture National Lampoon's Vacation.
Kind of.
Where the cat, chews on the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Oh,
does it leave his outline in the carpet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder if that, like, no, I wonder what, yeah.
All right. So, that's true. That's very true. Of course, how can a cat spontaneously humanly combust?
Well, okay, yeah, touche,
So-
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, that's just semantics, just beings of life bursting into flames.
Yeah.
Usually isn't natural. So, doesn't appear to be anyway, but I think one of the things that I guess I would want to specify is that when we speak of spontaneous human combustion, rather, it's not just somebody that bursts into flames and dies of a fire of an unknown origin. It's also contingent on it burns so intensely that a portion, usually a large portion of their body, is completely rendered to ash, while some parts of them are like fine. Right?
Exactly. And then the outlying areas are usually...
the entire surrounding area is fine. Like, they'll be in a chair, and like the immediate upholstery that they were sitting on would be burnt and gone or whatever, with them. But then like the frame of the chair will be fine.
Yeah.
The couch next to them will be fine. The house is totally intact. There's nothing else wrong besides the fact that the majority of the person is rendered to ash.
Yes.
And even not even the whole person, possibly their foot or their arm or something would be completely normal looking and just now severed via fire.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yes.
So that's one of the talking points, one of the points of debate, really, when we're talking about this, is, like I said, just not the fact that someone bursts into flames, which is odd, but also the intensity of it, and then what's left, the aftermath of it.
I want to talk too. I didn't include this in with this episode, but it was a couple months ago. I had read this case, this account, and for the life of me, I looked back and I could not remember the couple's name that gave that. It was a YouTube video talking about it. They were giving an interview, but so I couldn't include it in because I couldn't find it. Yeah. But the man, they were a middle-aged couple, like in their 50s or whatever, and they were, I can't remember, out to dinner. They were somewhere out in public, and the man, like, his leg just started billowing smoke.
Really?
Yeah. And so they were like, what the heck is going on? So that's what they ended up doing, was beating it with, I don't know, whatever they had, a jacket or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And
they extinguished it, and they were both like, what the heck, what was that? And then a few minutes later, like, it started up again. So the man didn't the man didn't actually catch on fire. But, when you have an area of your body that is billowing smoke for no reason, that's kind of alarming.
Yeah, no, those are the cases that set apart the majority of the topic that we're talking about. Okay, yeah. We did kind of allude to the commonalities between a lot of them, and I'm on Wikipedia now. We can kind of go over those again because there are some again, commonalities between most of them. One of which being victims are usually chronic alcoholics.
Yes.
2, they're usually elderly females. 3, the body is not burned spontaneously, but a lighted substance has come into contact with it. The hands and feet usually fall off. The fire has caused very little damage to combustible things in contact with the body, like we had talked about the surrounding area. And the combustion of the body has left a residue of greasy and fetid ashes with a very offensive odor. So when you look at all the cases together, these are the common things that are seen. But then also, like you just said, there are a few of them where these are not the cases at all. Okay, they are. I think the one they were out in public and the one man burst into flames. Was that the Galway one?
No, the woman in her 40s,
where she was on a park bench.
Yeah, and a passerby. They were actually one of the passersby extinguished the flames, but there were numerous witnesses that said she was just sitting there.
Yeah. And
all of a sudden she caught on fire. But from what I had read, they were also investigating it as a suicide. It's as a attempted suicide.
Even though there were witnesses saying that there was nothing.
Yeah. Well, maybe they didn't want to chalk it up to spontaneous human combustion. I don't know. I don't know what the reason is.
Seems kind of a stretch still, though.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have numerous witnesses, if there were no witnesses or very little witnesses, and she wasn't of any high standing or didn't have a name for herself, correct?
No.
That we know of?
Just a regular person.
Interesting.
But if it would have been an attempted suicide, let's say she doused herself in gasoline and lit a match and, whatever, again, the witnesses would have seen this. There would have been absolutely no doubt of how she went about doing this.
Yeah.
So, that tends to make me sway more toward they just don't want to admit that it was, or, give that ruling that, okay, this was a actual case of spontaneous human combustion.
Yeah. And I wanted to go a little bit more into the Wick effect as well, because we mentioned that. Again, going from Wikipedia, because I think it does have a pretty good description of it, albeit kind of long. Still want to go through it. It says that the Wick effect hypothesis suggests that a small external flame source, such as a burning cigarette, charged the clothing off of a victim at a location, splitting the skin and releasing subcutaneous fat, which in turn absorbs into the burned clothing, acting as a wick. The combustion can continue for as long as the fuel is available. So essentially, the fat is acting as the fuel.
The more fat you have, the longer you'll burn, in essence.
Yep, but this is also under the impression that there is an outside source. So with those other cases we were talking about where they just kind of burst into flames, and other people saw that happen, then this could still apply as in the fat as being the fuel source. So in theory, any fire that you could be exposed to would have this.
Yeah.
But then the Wick effect wouldn't necessarily explain those ones that just kind of poof, here's flames.
And I know in like the case of Mary Resser, she wasn't a, huge woman, but she wasn't a small woman either.
Yeah.
So, but in these other cases, we don't know, okay, how large was this person or, anything like that. But, I think, like we were saying, how some of these cases are not a part of the norm. Like the case of Helen Conway. She was babysitting her grandkids and she just bursts into flames.
Yeah.
And, she was neither a drinker nor a smoker.
Mm-hmm.
So, so she was sitting I was trying to think, I was like, well, barring her standing next to a stove or something like that. But then I remembered she wasn't. She was sitting in her chair.
Yeah. Like
a living room recliner or whatever.
Yeah.
So again, not near any source of an open flame, didn't drink, not an alcoholic, and didn't smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So what case do we have here?
Yeah. Yeah, to add on the end of that with the Wick effect as well, basically the idea is that the fire itself is kind of only really fueled by the subcutaneous fat in the body. So the reason why the feet and hands would kind of still remain okay would be because the percentage of the fat in the feet and hands is not as much as in the rest of the body. So a lot of times, apparently, when the feet are missing, the hands are missing, is because they were kind of resting on the person's abdomen when they were on fire. So essentially, that fire is kind of contained to wherever the fat would be, geographically located on wherever the body is. So therefore, when the fire would burn the fat out and were to hit it would hit the chair upholstery, for example, it wouldn't burn because that's not the kind of fuel that's burning.
Yeah. Well, also it burns something that goes along with the Wick theory is that these types of fires burn from the inside out. So by the time it gets to the outside, it just kind of, fizzles out or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, it's already kind of at the end of its life anyway.
Yeah, it's used up all the fuel and,
And it kind of specifies here that this could take up like a few hours.
It could. So
is this kind of like a sleeping thing? Like, are you sleeping and you're burning? How would you not notice a burning inside of you?
Well, no. Well, like in the case, like I was just saying with Helen Conway, she was awake. She was babysitting her grandkids.
No, I'm saying in the cases where it does take hours to do.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
To know that for sure.
Yeah.
Besides the Wick theory, have you ever heard of this, the MCAS all?
No, I have not heard of this.
It's called, let me look it up here. Where is it? There it is. Mast cell activation syndrome. Apparently put out by researcher Lawrence Afrin. Dr. Afrin actually has witnessed this in a few cases. One was in a report of a man, right? who just started just smoking. Okay. Now the idea behind it. By the way, a bunch of people saw this happen, so it wasn't. There were witnesses to it. So apparently, what happens is with these mast cells. Do not ask me to go into that because I don't know what the mast cells are. But the mast cells can spontaneously like release over 200, I think it was, inflammatory molecules, known as mediators, including norepinephrine.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Norepinephrine, okay? Now, apparently when this happens and large amounts of the norepinephrine is released, it could turn into like a protein, I think it is. Hold on, let me look it up here. It could turn on a regulatory protein called UCP1. And apparently this causes some type of oxidation, and it will actually create heat. He's actually found that it could generate heat in excess of 90 degrees Celsius. So it's almost like a chemical reaction with these mast cells, mass releasing this norepinephrine in like an oxidation process, creating heat, and then what they've seen from the witnesses of smoke and flames. I'm not sure if he's actually seen flames, but at least smoke and then the excessive heat. So it's a possibility that this could be an explanation as well.
But didn't you just say 90 degrees?
Celsius.
What is that in Fahrenheit?
We will look it up.
Well, because I think regardless, in these cases, they've talked about how you have to have a crazy amount of heat for it to disintegrate bone. And so that's my question. Is that in Fahrenheit going to be an excessive amount of heat that could...
Looking it up, it's only like 94
Again,
degrees
that's not,
Fahrenheit.
That is not hot enough to...
But the theory's there. It's just the theory.
Yeah.
So if 194 degrees Fahrenheit could start creating the smoke...
You can get a good smoke going, but you ain't going to burst into flame.
No, but depending on how that... And maybe it's I cannot speak today. Maybe even if it's in conjunction with the whole fat burning thing... Are you laughing at me?
I just got this visual of, those temperature things, like you pointed at your grill, and it'll tell you how hot was somebody actually standing back while this man is smoking.
Hey there, Bill. We got a problem here, buddy.
He's up to 90 degrees.
He set a record. Okay, yep.
Oh my God!
Someone may want to help him. No, I'm not gonna. No. Who's gonna hold the temperature thing? Honestly,
get the hose. Just get the hose.
It's terrible that you're laughing at this case study.
It's not funny. It's really not funny. Sorry.
You're laughing really hard for it being not funny.
Okay. Moving on here.
All right. What else you got?
So what do you think about this? No, I was thinking he was a doctor. This British author and biologist, Brian Ford, with his whole ketosis and acetone theory.
Can you re-explain it for me?
Well, he, through the process of ketosis, which I don't know a lot about ketosis, it's something to do with diabetes, I do believe.
Okay.
And he says that because acetone occurs naturally in the body in small traces, that when people are either alcoholics or they have ill health or disease, which I'm guessing is diabetes, that this acetone can be found in larger quantities in the human body, and that again they get near a open fire source, a cigarette or whatever, and kaboom.
Yeah. So I guess my question would be like with the acetone deposit. First off, how much of an acetone deposit would you need to really go up? And then of course, how close to the flame would you need to be to go up? And is your skin like thin enough for the flame to catch the acetone in there?
And it said that he conducted these experiments where he made these life-size human models and used pig flesh that he had soaked in acetone, and that it had the desired effect that he was looking for. But he had, in order to make that work, he had to take this pig flesh and soak it in acetone.
Yeah, are you saying that these people are like sweating acetone?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't think that's a Like that just doesn't sound right to me. The human body is not.
You could take a gasoline bath and almost
well,
find the same
yeah,
way.
and get that same effect, but the human body is not going to be soaked in acetone.
Mm-hmm.
So to me personally, I would kind of rule that one out.
So you don't think there's enough acetone that could be compiled on the body? No,
I do not. No, it doesn't say. And if it were due to alcoholism or ill health or disease, and the whole acetone ketosis thing, I would think that we would have seen a lot more than 200 cases of this happening,
especially with the rise of diabetes.
Exactly, and throughout how many different countries and all that.
Now, is there a direct correlation between diabetes and acetone production or retention in the body?
I don't know about for acetone, but I know ketosis is a part of having diabetes.
Yeah, but I guess I'm not understanding the connection then between the three. If the ketosis has to do with diabetes and then vice versa, how does acetone come into play with either ketosis or diabetes?
Because acetone is found naturally in the body, but in people who have, I guess it says due to alcoholism or diabetes or just bad health in general,
exacerbates the amount of acetone in someone's system.
Yes, and then puts them into ketosis, which I've never heard of other than for people that have diabetes. Apart from the alcoholism.
Yeah.
Just for people that have diabetes.
Yeah.
And that is the reason, according to Mr. Ford, that this could. It's just a theory, but to me, that theory just doesn't hold water.
The experiment itself just seemed kind of excessive.
The experiment, and then, like I said, with diabetes being a worldwide epidemic, one of the, I'm sure one of the leading causes of death. Yeah. We would see a lot more than just 200 cases of this happening.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to go out of my way to not be logical with this episode, I guess, how many times has the possibility of spontaneous human combustion occurred under the circumstances where it rightfully could have been something else, and then it was ruled something else and not what could it have been? See what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I was wondering too. I thought about like a house fire or not a house fire, but something like that happening, and then them coming in to investigate and saying, oh, well, it was just due to a faulty outlet or something like that.
Because maybe their chair was next to the outlet.
So you would probably likely assume, oh, well, it had something, because you probably wouldn't automatically think, oh, well, this could be spontaneous combustion.
I feel like I'm reaching a little bit like in the opposite direction. It's making me uncomfortable. But yes.
But however,
this is, for me, it's one of those things that it's kind of a kind of an old story that has persisted.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I like it and I want to believe in it, just if not purely for nostalgic reasons.
Yeah.
So
it was spontaneous human combustion, damn it. If you say otherwise, I'm going to split your lip.
Yeah, but I don't care if the arsonist poured the whole thing of kerosene. I know. Yeah. But there are a few cases with almost every theory, with every story oddity thing you have at least a couple stories, if there are a lot, at least a couple of them that are odd, which keep the whole thing going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you have one or two, they're like, that is interesting. That sounds a little peculiar, that suddenly all the other ones that sound vaguely like it, that do kind of have an explanation, automatically get lumped. See, told you. But regardless, I don't want to. Okay, I don't want to not believe it anymore because I love the story.
I just want to know here, since you had this awfully traumatic childhood experience of worrying about bursting into flames.
Yeah.
What would you do right now if smoke just started billowing from you? What would you do?
Oh, it didn't. Well, it was traumatic during the childhood. I've since grown out of it, so I'm not really traumatized by it now.
But what would you do? Like right now, what would be the first thing that you would do if you saw smoke billowing?
Preemptively thinking, and then hopefully retrospectively thinking, if I happen to survive it, I would be more worried about what you would do in actually filming it for me.
Oh, I would film it. You can bet. I wouldn't be like what we were talking about in our
the last episode.
The last episode about why no one grabs a cell. I would grab my cell phone so fast, and it would be on YouTube like that.
We are surrounded by screens, solidly of which 75% of them have cameras on it. If it doesn't get recorded, I'm gonna be angry.
But I'm a little disappointed with you right now.
Why?
Because I'm disappointed that your initial reaction would not be to jump in the shower.
Why?
Because I kept thinking about with all these cases, like the lady who was babysitting her grandkids and she burst into flame. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's terrible. What would I do if the grandkids were here and I suddenly burst into flames? And I thought, well, I'd run to the damn shower. That's what I would do first of all.
But the problem with that is like if it really is like a fat fueled fire, do you pour water on like a fire in your kitchen?
What? But then we would know.
Yeah, but then we'd burn the whole house down if I jumped in the shower and sprayed fire everywhere,
well, then
right?
Then I'd grab the salt. Isn't that what you do for a grease fire?
Is it
You throw
flour?
salt on it?
Is it salt or is it flour?
My mom always threw salt on it.
I don't know. See, I shouldn't cook just because I don't know that information. We had a friend who burned his whole trailer down.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep. He
didn't grab the salt or the flour?
He wasn't thinking. He was cooking or whatever, and he went over to check something else. And he happened to look back over and he goes, "Oh no, there's a fire now." And his just automatic first reaction when you see a fire, not thinking, is to dump it in the sink and pour water on it. Well, it was a grease fire, and literally poof.
Yeah.
And the trailer wasn't around long after that. Caught his curtains up and everything, and it was gone.
That'd be terrible.
Yep, it's you have to like, if it's a situation like that where it's very hectic and fast moving. You got to remember the whole classification of fires. I mean, if you have a fire happening that's a grease fire, please don't put water on it.
Do not put water on it.
Yeah, but it's understandable when it happens. I mean, you can't think ill of someone when something happens, and you got to act, off the cuff about it. And if you hopefully you remember, that you just think fire, water, let's get it out and dump that sucker right in the sink and poof. So he doesn't have a trailer anymore.
Aww.
You have anything else on this one?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah. Now it makes me want to go back and look through all those books because I don't have any of those books anymore that has like the compilation of weird things. I got like the weird US. I think I have Weird Ohio. Yep, right down there was a weird US, and then I have Weird Arizona, I think. But I'll have to go back and see if I have any more of those compilation books that has spontaneous human combustion. Because to me, what would be most interesting to see is like especially if it was like pre-1980s, like what the stories would say about it.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to now when there's been at least some research regarding it.
Yeah.
That'd be the most interesting is just go back and retrospectively see what they thought about it.
I need to update the Big Book of the Unexplained.
They should. We need.
I really like that title, The Big Book of the Unexplained.
I feel like it's probably taken, man. Come on now.
That's depressing.
You have to come up with another tag.
The Super Big Book of the Unexplained.
We're doing the magnificently super big book. Like, we're gonna keep going. Oh man. Although we'd still want to hear, like we said at the end of the narrative, we want to hear what you guys think about this. If you guys leave us a voicemail, get on over to our Facebook group or anything like that, and give us your opinion of it.
I think we'll post a poll on our Facebook page too.
I don't know how to do that.
Don't worry, I'll do it.
Okay. I gave the links, remember?
Yeah, well, we'll post a poll on our Facebook page asking for what theory do you think possibly explains it, or do you think it stays in the realm of unexplained?
Or if you think it's just flat out bullpucky.
Yeah, either way. Go. Vote on the poll. Go to the Facebook page, hit like and follow, and vote on the poll.
We'll try to get that poll up sometime this week, and then we'll check the results of it. So, all right, is that all you got then for sure?
That's a wrap.
Sounds good. We'd like to say thank you one more time for hopping on board with us this week. If you have any comments, questions, critiques, or suggestions for new topics, please send us an email at supernaturaltendentiespodcast@gmail.com. We also encourage you to go over to our Facebook page at Supernatural Tendencies Podcast and go ahead and just smash that like button if you would. We are also available on Instagram if that's more to your liking. Please pass us around to your friends as well, where they can find us on Podbean, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and most other major podcast platforms.
And remember, if you're having any type of paranormal activity or extraterrestrial contact, I offer private coaching online via Skype or Facebook Messenger to assist you with those issues. Feel free to visit me at ChristieJohnsonSadler.com for contact information.
Till next time, this has been Alex.
And Christie.
See you later.